Right. Hey, what's up, guys? How is everyone doing? So, as of patch 1.4, the fingerprint shield no longer has infinite stability, so you can now guard break the fingerprint shield. What you saw right there, though, was another thing that got added with the 1.4 patch, and it's the Icy Spear. And while I was doing some testing with my buddy Kat, shout out to Kat for helping me test all of this out, discovered that the militia shuttle, or actually, I mean, any weapon that has the Icy Spear, just straight up goes through the guard, so it ignores completely the action of blocking. So this is one of the very few attacks in the game that completely ignore block daggers. There is only another attack in this game that does that, and it is the called not even impaling twist. It's called piercing fang, but piercing fang has such a long wind up that it's very difficult to to effectively use in combat. But before, like, the only really attack that we had that was like sorta fast mid-combat that you could use against fingerprint was impaling thrust. And as you can see, it's fairly telegraphed. Like, it's very slow. It does not stun either. Impaling thrust only does damage through shield. It does a decent amount, around 500, depending on what you're using. But it's still not enough when used in combat, since it's the only attack that can really go through a fingerprint, or that could only go through a fingerprint before. Now, though, what's cool is that the other attack that could go through the fingerprint, though, was Piercing Fang. But as you can see, Piercing Fang has an even longer wind-up, and so it was incredibly difficult to actually hit Piercing Fang through a shield. But Piercing Fang does go through the guard and does stun through the guard. Just that the wind-up is so damn long that you're not really going to hit someone with it. That said, there are other unblockable attacks, like I'm sure you guys know that the Coated Sword Ash of War got buffed. But what's interesting here is that we finally got an attack that's actually very fast, that can go through shield, which is Icy Spear. So what they did is they, in patch 1.4, they added a hitbox on the first part of the Ashy Spear spin. So when you spin your weapon, there's a hitbox there, and afterward, your attack, obviously. And what that allows you to do is effectively win a shield poke battle, kinda. Like, you can actually stand in front of someone shield poking and actually out-damage them. So this was something that could not be done before. It was practically impossible to do that before. You pretty much needed to have some status to build through the shield. So you needed either to set up like a seppuku beforehand, or have like a specific status setup that you could use mid-fight. But right now, what's cool about this is that now you actually have an option that's fairly fast, and that has two hitbox. So even if they actually roll, because you can reaction roll the first part of the Icy Spear, but even if you do reaction roll it, because it's two hitboxes, it will effectively catch them on the roll. So as soon as you get point blank, the shield is in danger. Now, it's not perfect. That first spin doesn't have a lot of range, so you need to use it point blank. That's one downside. The other downside is that it's not bulletproof to high poise. We're very happy when we found that this thing could go through shield, but afterward we thought, oh shit, what if someone has high poise? Surprisingly enough, though, the poise damage on this attack is fairly high. It does a good amount of poise damage. It seems to do the exact same poise damage as a two-handed R1. So if you're using a halberd, it's gonna be doing about 102 poise damage. And if you're using a great spear, it's going to be doing around 112 poise damage. So even though it's poisable, the first hit, it still does enough poise damage to be effective against like 90% of shield players, because keep in mind that using a great shield is extremely intensive. You need a lot of endurance if you want to be able to have full bull goat plus bull talisman plus the shield talisman, because all of our testing was done with shield talisman and the hammer talisman, which increases stamina damage to guard. So all our testing was done with both great shield and hammer talisman on each side. So keep in mind that if someone was to have, you know, full bull goat with a fingerprint, it's most likely going to be someone that's over leveled, since it's going to be very difficult to rock the bull goat talisman, the great shield talisman, and on top of that, you're also probably going to need the great jar arsenal. So like 3 mandatory ring and like very stat intensive to wield all 3 of them. So it's unlikely that you're going to have someone with that amount of poise, but it should still be noted that it is possible to poise through that icy spear, as the testing shows here. So again, Great Lance is the best at hitting. It's the best at hitting through the guard, as it does the highest poise damage and the highest damage as well. Actually, maybe the Knight Rider Glaive would do more damage. I guess it would depend on your build, but you know, higher AR is going to be better. But to be fair, because the Lance is the only great spear which you can put an Ash of War on, it's by default the only weapon that will do 112 poise damage. So Great Lance is actually the best candidate at using this Ash of War. Now, if you are facing someone that does have max poise, like for instance, if you're invading and you're fighting an over-leveled Phantom, the Vulgar Militia Shuttle will be a lot better. And why? Because since they're going to be able to poise the your Great Spear, Icy Ash of War either way, it's going to be better to do higher chip damage. And the Militia Shuttle, because of its shield piercing property, will do around 600 damage on the weapon art through the guard, which will effectively let you win trades. So you can, even though you won't stun the shield on the first go, they will lose the damage trade. And so it's still good. Also, you're building up some frost, since this is a frost weapon art. So even if your opponent is using status on you, you're also doing status damage to your opponent. So this is a pretty good trade-off. Now, obviously, this is not like the all-in win everything strategy. You do have to outplay your opponent if you're fighting someone that's as skilled as you, for instance. A shield user is still extremely threatening. While this is a counter to some specific scenarios, whereas if someone is able to stand in front of you and out-trade you, it's a big deal. Well, now you have that on your side. You're able to out-damage the shield poke user with the quick swap of a weapon, or with the quick use of an Ash of War. Because before, otherwise, you'd have to set up with something. You'd either have to set up with Seppuku, which the shield could outrun. You'd either have to set up with Lightning Bolt, which the shield can run away from. It's worth mentioning that the Pebble is also very good on the Militia Shuttle. But Pebble is a bit more telegraph. The advantage of the Icy Spear is that it comes out a lot faster. And even if you roll first part of the Icy Spear, it will still catch. Now, you don't have to set up with anything. You have a threat that you can use at any time in the fight. So this is a big plus. And obviously, because Fingerprint did get nerfed, it does not have infinite stability anymore. You can now guard break Fingerprint, but what does it take to guard break Fingerprint? With Shield Talisman, of course. Throughout our testing, we kind of came to the conclusion that the best class at using Royal Knight Resolve, because keep in mind, the really only thing that can guard break shields right now is Royal Knight Resolve. There's really no other realistic way to break great shields. So Royal Knight Resolve is your friend, definitely. So what are the best weapons to use Royal Knight Resolve on? Well, there's a few options. Obviously, Militia Shotel and Grave Sight, or Sights and Militia Shotel are a great candidate for Royal Knight Resolve. Why? They won't break guard, but they will do a lot of stamina damage. The jumping R2 won't necessarily break a fingerprint, but you'll be doing a big chunk of damage, and you will be winning trades. So never a bad idea to put Royal Knight Resolve on the Sight or the Militia Shotel and try to use that against the shield. Now, again, the shield can outrun it. They don't need to trade against it. That's the problem with Royal Knight Resolve, is that it's not completely free. The shield needs to actually fuck up for you to land that. It needs to actually engage with you. So if the shield user has experience, they won't really engage with the Royal Knight Resolve. With a weapon like the Sight, you can still use the full moveset to go through the guard, or with a weapon like the Militia Shotel, which has a very nice running attack that has a lot of forward momentum, will still be good enough to fight a shield user. But if you want the best guard break, we found that the Brick Hammer, so the Great Hammer class in general, tends to have the highest stamina damage out of all the weapons we've tested. And the Brick Hammer in particular was the only weapon that could guard break a fingerprint with a rolling attack, so with a crouch attack. So that's pretty big, because usually you would need to guard break a fingerprint by doing a jump R2 with any weapon. Well, with this hammer, what's cool is that you can guard break a fingerprint with a rolling attack, which comes out very fast, and it's definitely usable in combat. So the rolling attack, obviously, it's not limited to the rolling attack. You can also guard break with running R2. You can also guard break with jumping attack, of course. Even the one-handed R2. Another one that's nice is the running R2 from the pickaxe, because the pickaxe has that that animation or that moveset where the running R2 has very good tracking, so it's hard for you to get backstab off of it. So like if the shield tries to go around it, they can't really, because the pickaxe running R2 will hit all around you. And so a good option for the running R2. But again, you know, the shield has to be engaging with you for you to land that, as these attacks are fairly reactable. So again, I'm saying all of this to you because these are definitely options, and it is possible to guard break fingerprint shield, and it is probably going to be useful in invasions where you have to fight players that are not necessarily very good. So that will give you like a backdoor to end the fight quickly, as you guys probably know. You can one-shot players with a Misericord Dagger Riposte, and so if you do land that one attack and break someone's guard, you can finish the fight right away with the Misericord Dagger and the Dagger Talisman. But if you're fighting someone experienced, it's definitely going to come in handy to have a Militia Shotel with the Ice Spear weaponized, as realistically they're going to have a hard time gathering enough poise to tank it on top of having a fingerprint. If you're fighting someone that has high poise, they're likely going to be using smaller shields, which are much easier to guard break. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys up next time. Take care.